closer look. And since we've started this, taking a closer look, we've done films that obviously are favorites of ours. We really enjoy these films. And we started talking about this film in particular, and I think it fascinates us both. And I know I enjoyed it a lot more as a kid than you did, but we both enjoyed this as a kid. And as we've gotten older, we've enjoyed it a lot less, to the point now at the age where it's a bad film. Let's just say it. And so we're going to dive into this, going to try to do the outline like we always do. There's a bunch of stuff we've read on, and we're going to try to give our opinion. It's going to be fun. Let's just get right into it. It's a 1991 film.
Nothing But Trouble.
Nothing But Trouble. Directed by Dan Aykroyd. He co-wrote it with his brother, Chevy Chase. Dan Aykroyd's in it. John Candy. Demi Moore.
And they play multiple roles, if I'm not wrong.
Dan Aykroyd played multiple roles.
Yeah.
He played 3 roles, I think. John Candy played 2 roles, and we'll get into his in a minute. It fascinates me because, and I'll just give a little backstory to this, because it came out in 91. I was very young. I remember seeing the poster of this movie and getting really excited, because if you grew up in the 80s like we did, all those big movies, comedy movies, had Dan Aykroyd, had Chevy Chase in it, had John Candy in it. So you're like, wow, all of these guys are going to be in it. I'll be honest, I didn't know Dan Aykroyd directed it till I was in my 20s. I didn't pay attention to it that much. And then when I found out he directed it, is when I started to decline my likeness of it.
It sort of fits a niche that I don't think they really did a lot with, or maybe they did, and I wouldn't say macabre, but it was sort of like, not even horror necessarily, but The Burbs. But the Burbs is different. It's on the opposite side of space. It was actually great and really funny. But you could almost say that Nothing But Trouble exists in the same universe.
I know he was going for a dark comedy.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest, some of it is even like horror-themed comedy.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily scary, but it's something that if it was taken a little more serious, it might have been scary. So it's definitely different, and let's just dive right into it. I mean, the film begins, it's almost like a pan of New York City. It's a night shot. You see the old World Trade Center, the 2 towers, and it kind of focuses, I guess, on this building that I'm guessing it's an apartment building, and it's Chevy Chase's apartment building.
Evening, Mr. Thorne. Evening, Mike. 110 blocks in under 15 minutes. Not bad for a one-eyed Russian immigrant.
He's a financial advisor, I think, and he's very successful. You can tell that. He gets out of his car. He's got a doorman. He's got some kind of article.
Here, read my newsletter. Have fun. Fun is actually knowing who half your guests are.
That he writes every week or every month. Again, I'm not 100%. The guy that actually opens his door is Dan Aykroyd's brother. Peter Aykroyd.
Peter Aykroyd, yeah.
So,
he was in I Come in Peace.
Well, another good one. So you know he's done well, and he's going to a party that he doesn't even want to go to, and he gets to the elevator. It's full of people. These 2, they're Brazilian. You can probably look up their names real quick. They're Brazilian heirs. They're from Brazil, and they're millionaires, and obviously he goes to their money.
Yeah. Taylor Negron.
That's it.
Portilla Damas. Taylor Negron, he was the second bad guy opposite, what was his name? In The Last Boy Scout.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
You remember?
He was in a Pauly Shore movie called Biodome, too. I think he was Pauly Shore's like stepdad or something. It's been a while since I seen him. But anyway, they're like, they're going up to his apartment. So Demi Moore shows up with a little dog. They get in the elevator and they're going up. And she starts to cry out of nowhere for no reason. And he's like, why don't you come up to my penthouse to have a drink, wine. Well, he's got this paper about some kind of land deal with some guy, and she's very upset all of a sudden.
Son of a bitch! I don't believe this. That bastard! I can't believe this!
And she calls the guy. Evidently, they used to have a relationship, and she's like, why am I getting left out of this? And you know what? I'm just going to go down there. So she goes up to the party and asks Dan or Chevy Chase if he can use his car.
Can I borrow your car?
I'll drive.
I mean, I'm happy to
No,
drive.
it's my car. I'll do the driving.
Okay, great, you drive.
So the next morning, it's actually kind of a funny scene. He gets down in the elevator, and he's either hungover or tired. And he's like, I can't even do this. And he tells the doorman, listen, just let her take the car. I can't do it. Just tell her I'm sorry. Well, then the elevator opens.
I gotta get some sleep. Give me the keys, Mike.
So they get in the car, and it's this high-tech like BMW, and it's got like navigation systems, car phone, pretty high-tech stuff for 91, you know?
Yeah.
Again, when you're well off. Well, those Brazilianaires that were there at the beginning, they said they were going to go with him. He didn't think they'd get up in time. Well, they show up and get in the car.
They're not coming
As
with
I've
us,
watched
are they?
this and liked it less, I feel like they could have been left out. That's just me. So anyway, they get out of New York City. They're driving, I think it's the New Jersey Turnpike south. The Brazilianaires want to like sightsee and have a picnic. Yeah. And Chevy Chase like, no, let's just get to Atlantic City.
They really didn't provide a whole lot of meat for the story development.
I mean, I guess it's their fault because they pushed enough to where Demi Moore found like a side route.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we can drive this and get right back on the turnpike, and everybody's happy. So they get off of the turnpike and they're driving. They come up to this weird town. Remember, it's got these weird people. Of course, Chevy Chase is kind of a jerk or something. They almost crash into this like vent pipe that's in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
And it's, what's the name of that? It's Valkenvania. That's great. I'm starting to like it again. No. He runs a stop sign.
Yeah.
And one of the good things I think Dan Aykroyd did do is he kind of portrayed, this is where John Candy comes in. He's the sheriff of the town. And you see John Candy, and he looks like he's a no joke, he's all business. He looks like a badass in my opinion. So he ran the red light, so John Candy is going to follow him. They start to drive. Well, John Candy gets around and turn the lights on. And again, it wouldn't have been a movie if you just pull over. I mean, you've got money. Just pull over. If you get fined, pay the fine and move on. No, the Brazilianaires, who should have been left out of the film to begin with, ag him to try to outrun him because he's got a BMW.
Yeah.
So Chevy Chase is like, all right, what the heck, I got nothing to lose. So he takes off.
Here we go.
About this, I don't know.
Well, they count on John Candy having like turbo engine or something in there. So he's like, crap, he's got a fast car too. So he's like, oh, I think I can lose him. And John Candy's got all these stories. What, he flips a switch and a detour sign comes up? Pretty sophisticated for a little town.
Detour.
Chris, watch out!
Here we go.
So he ends up having to drive on this like industrial road with dump trucks and stuff. Where that came from, I don't know. Well, they ended up running into the other trooper.
¿Tienes dólares? Oh, you know!
And John Candy pulls up, tells him, gets out of the car.
Was I speeding? Sorry, wasn't sure you were a real cop. And please, I mean that in a complimentary sense.
But he asked him what the damage is.
You were speeding, but that's not why I began to follow you, sir. Back there in the village, you failed to make a full stop at the intersection.
So now you have to come with me. This is part of the film that I still kind of find fascinating. I'm not, again, I don't like it in any stretch anymore, but
It's almost like they ran into, an early version of American Pickers.
yeah, I mean, oh yeah, Mike and Frank would have had a field day in that
Yeah.
place.
Metal sculpture.
It's like a whole like mountain of toasters.
Yeah.
And then again, it's fascinating. They have all these signs like "Be polite" and stuff.
Should have been a dead giveaway to begin with. But, you know.
Yeah, be polite. I think Demi Moore even one says like, "Oh, no cussing." Chevy.
Shit.
They pull in like there's just cars stacked up. It's just, and then you pull up to this old. It looks like a school, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's this old dinky. Looks like a modern day haunted house, what it would be. But it's, I guess, the Justice of the Peace house. So they pull up. They go inside.
Lucy, I'm home.
John Candy's like, okay, now, he even has this whole speech like,
Revolving District Court for the Village and Shire of Vulcanvania is now in order. The Honorable Reeve Alvin Vulcanizer presides.
the Honorable Reed, you know, and this weird, it's like a battle song or something.
Oh, yeah.
All this stuff flips over from pictures to like, I guess, Medal of Honors and stuff. And this desk comes, and all of a sudden this person pulls up.
Yeah.
And you can't see him at first because of all these books, but you can hear it's Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah.
So he's going through all the IDs, and he's looking at stuff. Well, all of a sudden, I think Demi Moore says something like,
Let's just be quiet and let him do his little thing and we'll be on our way.
well, all of a sudden, Dan Aykroyd goes,
Your way, and when you go, the cat's eyes will spin. Now listen.
Okay, we'll listen.
and it's an old man, basically.
Yeah.
And he looks angry, and everybody's frozen for a second. Well, then he starts.
Hey, hey, ho, ha, ho. Hula, 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 the bula, bula, bula. Look who's got the front seats of the Mexican hat dance now. Just like a bunch of spiders in a birthday cake.
What is some like? You're not at some.
Are not under the jurisdiction of just any old fishing license dispenser and stamp pad jockey.
I said back then, I'm pretty sure there was a quality about it that as a kid that it appealed to me on certain levels. It was sort of funny.
You know, he gets to the point. I think at one point Demi Moore is like says something, and Dan Aykroyd likes it, and I think she says something like, you know, he says we should spend more time together. She's like, oh, I'd like these.
Would you?
And something about like his engineering degree pops up.
My engineering degree.
And something about, and then I'll share the story about how I fought the Germans in World War I later, and then that's when Chevy Chase kind of loses.
Wait a minute, what is this shit?
Sir, no cussing in court.
We don't want to hear the story of your life. We just want to pay the ticket and get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
Well, all of a sudden Dan Aykroyd said something like,
Court herewith binds you over for a further appearance to be held at 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. We so deem for the public and common good that you be confined herein. So for now.
all right, good night. And then this trap door opens, and they fall into like this. It's not stuffed animals. It's almost like dog squishy toys.
Yeah.
So they fall in there. John Candy, as soon as I do it, he's not happy.
What's the point in that? They're clean. No drugs, no guns, nothing.
Just another batch of hot pistol lily-wogged city chickens to run through Grandpa Alvin's trick house.
John Candy was arguing with him, and Dan Aykroyd says,
So help me, Dennis. I'll cut you out of the will. You won't get so much as Flossie the Nag.
I always do my job, and you know it. But I don't mind letting you know my duties end right here at this bench.
Oh, fine. Go suck a bug.
in the next scene, it's one of the Baldwin brothers.
Daniel Baldwin.
Miami, baby, here we come.
It's like 4 people. That's the only one I recognize in the car. But anyway, they're,
The lesser of the Baldwin.
well, this group is, they're definitely drinking and driving, and I think there's drugs in the car.
Yeah.
Well, they're speeding. John Candy radars them, pulls them over, and pulls up, and he's like, hey, driver, step out of the car. And he's like, I need your license. And he's like, have you been drinking tonight?
I had a couple, so what? I'm fine.
Well, he's like, and he says something like, I'm afraid you'll have to blow.
Blow you? To get out of a ticket? Forget it, Tom.
And then I think the girl says,
I'll blow him.
Maybe later. Next century. Let's go, son.
so he does a breathalyzer test.
You blew double drunk within the village limits. You're going with me.
And he fails. He's going to be, well, Baldwin had a gun.
Officer, Say goodnight, copper.
Please. Please, no. Don't kill me.
Chiefy, pal. I was only kidding.
So they go see Dan Aykroyd.
Yes.
And they're all impaired. So, and Dan Aykroyd's appearance is kind of odd. So they're all laughing at him.
Is that nose rubber?
Hey, I don't want you. I want Judge Wapner.
And he's like, oh, you got guns and drugs and all this stuff. And he's like, well, why don't we just get this wrapped up and send you out of here? So come up to the bench.
Okay, I hereby find all parties culpable in these matters as charged, and so choose to invade the maximum levy for these violations, and do therefore deem that you be conveyed to a holy, awful place of execution, wherein you shall be put to death.
And you're like, wow, he's just going to let these guys go? But, you know, he kept, well, no, there's another button he has. It's a conveyor belt that slides him out the side door. It's a roller coaster with a song. I think it's like Going Down, Bone Crusher.
Yeah.
And he says something like, I'll give you all your guns and knives when you come out the other end. Well, they're going to get chewed up.
Yeah, it's basically like
They chews up everything but the bones. And it's supposed to be a joke, like all these bones are hitting like this target.
Yeah.
It's the Bone Crusher.
Spoons and pots and guns and knives and all that back to you when you come out the other end.
The next scene, it's back down there to Chevy Chase and them. And Chevy Chase, they got to let us out of here. They got to talk to us. Well, finally, one of them comes in and says, hey, it's dinner time. And I love Chevy Chase, what he says. Something like, oh, yeah, maybe we'll get some wine, some pasta. Well, so they're all sitting there. And Dan Aykroyd's being lowered down from an upper floor. And it's weird, too, because I remember him sitting there. All of a sudden, one of his legs just pops out.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Welcome to supper.
And instead of wine, it's like, you guys want Hawaiian punch, which he puts an oil cap on there.
Yeah.
So you can put the Hawaiian punch. So.
Thank you, Judge. You know, there's nothing better at the end of a long day on the road than a nice warm glass of Hawaiian punch.
Then you meet this other character, which is John Candy's sister, but it's John Candy dressed as drag. Yeah. Which is pretty cool because they have a couple scenes where they're next to each other and it looks pretty decent, especially for 90s.
Yeah, back then it was just split screen, if I'm not mistaken.
Something like that, yeah. Well, so he at one point they're talking and then all of a sudden Dan Aykroyd's like,
How do you like your dog, folks?
Yeah.
Demi Moore.
They're serving dogs?
He's like, no, hot dogs. Well, okay, hot dogs. Well, when they drop it in Dan Aykroyd's thing, it doesn't, to me, look like a hot dog. It looks like a very pale sausage. It's got things on the end. It just looks very weird.
Well, but that is, I got to interrupt it. That's actually old world style frankfurters.
I'm not into that. She's handing John Candy's female character's handing the hot dogs around. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Dan Aykroyd, all right, let's eat. Pulls this mechanical buttons up.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, like, the table starts breaking away in certain areas, and a train comes up.
With all the condiments, right?
All the condiments,
yeah. I remember that, yeah.
And it's funny because the little backstory that I read was that they built this set, they built the table. Then somebody came in, whether it's a producer or someone that worked, and told Dan Aykroyd, you know, I went to this restaurant where they served everything on a train. And Dan said, we got to build that. So they sit there and spend all this money to build it. To me, it didn't add, or it's just, again, another odd thing in the film. So they're eating, and Dan Aykroyd starts messing with the other Brazilian. I mean, doesn't he hit him with like a pickle thing?
Yeah.
So he loses it. He starts yelling at him like, you guys are sick and all this stuff.
That's enough. I'm gonna flip out. Get behind me, baby.
And I won't have my sister, who was once the queen of the Mardi Gras, sitting at a table with a pickle shooting train.
He's right. We gotta go.
They jump out the window.
Come on, baby.
The other deputy, the female, she's shooting at him. Like, Jesus. Even John K's like,
Urbilla, put that up. Use the dogs.
Chevy Chase and Demi Moore think they can escape. So they throw their towels at Dan Aykroyd and they run to the front door. Of course, why wouldn't he? Dan Aykroyd has a button and he can lock or put a gate up at the front door.
Yeah.
So they get gated in. The female John Candy comes up, grabs him by the neck, and Dan Aykroyd, so they show him to their room. So he takes them upstairs, and there's trash all on the stairs.
Yeah.
And remember, they're walking down the hallway,
You haven't got the correct time, have you?
it's all these clocks. And I think Tim says, you got the time? My watch is out. So they lock him in the room.
Got some moments.
Yeah. The Brazilianaires get locked, or they get away. But there's some kind of moat, and it's very dirty water.
Yeah.
I forget what they call it. So he's like, we got to get across it. They do get across it, but once they get across it, John Candy's waiting.
Yeah.
Or he's like, oh, you got to cross our stream. You deserve a prize. Well, they actually coerce him. They're like, hey, you need some vacation time.
You peeled the correct banana there.
Chevy Chase and Demi Moore, remember, they're locked in that room and they're talking. Well, they end up going to sleep. Well, because John Candy, I guess, has seen the light, he wakes them up by flipping the bed around.
I remember, yeah.
And then he opens the door, so Chevy's like, let's get out of here. Well, they're going down the hallway, and you hear a door open and close. So they run down another hallway. This is, again, what fascinated me, this house. Then they run up, there's a third level to the house, who knew? And he's like, there's got to be a way out of here. This is where it's bizarre, too, because they open up one door, and it's just toy dolls stuffed up all the way to the ceiling to the door. What does he say? Something like, this must be the nursery. And then they open another door, and it's full of bats. We need to find that out.
Marjorie Vulcanheimer.
So anyway, they open another door, and it in a grave or something. Well, they close that door, and one of the walls is starting to close in on them. And they're gonna run through the hallway. Well, the door's closed, so they're at the very last second. Chevy Chase gets the door, and they get that door, and it's a staircase up. They get, and I'm guessing that's got to be the attic. That's as high up as you can go.
I remember this scene.
So they're up there and they're looking around like, look at it, and it's all these IDs.
Yes,
yeah, and whatever. But remember, he's like, look
at this. Jimmy Hoffa still missing, and here's his ID.
Are you kidding?
So they get this perspective that these people have been doing this for an extreme.
You know, I think they've been doing this around here since the 1890s, and I don't see any reason why they're going to stop at us.
So the next scene, Demi Moore and them are sitting there, and they're having a cigar because they can't get out. The door's closed behind them. Well, I think John Candy, again, trying to help them out, opens this side door.
Get a map of that place.
And they go, look, and...
Hey, look at this. It's a slide.
Yeah, but this is no playground. Could be a bed of spikes down there.
So they got no choice. The door closes behind them. So Demi Moore goes first, and they're sliding down. When it splits, well, of course, Demi goes one side, Chevy goes the other. Demi Moore slides all the way outside. Yeah, Chevy Chase slides into a whole stack of bones. And she gets out, so she's by herself. Well, Chevy Chase, there's a hole, and that room is Dan Aykroyd's room.
Yeah.
And this is where, to me, it gets even more bizarre. Because Dan Aykroyd sits down and he's talking to...
Oh, yeah, he was a good-looking fella.
So, well, he takes his hair off.
Yeah.
Then he takes, like, his face and half of his nose off. That's where it was like, whoa. It's very bizarre.
Yeah.
And then he's going to bed and he's like singing or something. Whatever.
Reminds me of my old landlord.
So it cuts back to Demi Moore, and she finds the car, this is where it's really bizarre for me. Runs into these creatures. They're supposed to be Dan Aykroyd's kids or grandkids. I don't even know. But they're like 6 feet tall. They've got really, really weird skin. And they got bellies and they flop up and down when they walk. I didn't like that at all. That if I watch it now, I don't even want to watch that part. It's just very bizarre.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. Those got it. That's not good. No, that's no good.
Yeah.
So, but they actually saved Demi Moore's life.
No. Don't throw it to my fireman, please. We just want to play with her. Oh, thank you.
So they've got her kind of caged up. Cuts back to Dan Aykroyd and Chevy Chase. The other detective, she pulls over some speeders. Digital Underground.
Let's go. 1, 2, 3. Take it straight.
She is one ugly, cross-burning, redneck, Peckerwood police bitch, man.
All right, move.
So he leaves, and Chevy Chase goes down into his room, and he's reading all this stuff. Well, the reason why half his face is missing is he was caught in the fire. He's got the clipping. Well,
so that's what happened to the poor old ugly bag.
Dan Aykroyd comes back up. They have a little fight or whatever.
I'm glad I forgot my pistol. I'm gonna stick you! Crazy! I'm gonna dig so many new holes in you!
And I think Chevy Chase steps in the bed.
Get your Italian loafers out of my bedpan! Ooh!
So they're fighting. Chevy Chase ends up running into John Candy's female character. And Dan Aykroyd says, so now you're making passes at my daughter. He said, what are you talking about? I just ran in there. He said, well,
whatever a man touches, there's the one she keeps. What? What are you talking about? Oh, no, wait a minute. Hold on, wait a minute. I just went through a goddamn stop sign. I just want to get to Atlantic City, please. She'll know what to do with him.
And goes back to this judge thing.
Okay, what's going on, boy?
All around the Humpty Hump.
Well, he's like, he's talking to him, and he's like, what is this musical instruments? Well, I got to see him, bring him in. Like, oh, great. Well, Chevy Chase is in John Candy's, and she's like dressing up for him or whatever. Well, they take Chevy Chase to the courtroom, and we all get to watch Digital Underground play a song.
Drop the beat, Jay.
Been all around the world. Been all around the world.
All around the world.
Been all around the world.
It's just a freestyle, meanwhile we keep the beat kicking. Sweat dripping, girlies in the limo eating chicken. Oops, forget the grease on your pantyhose. I love you, Rover, move over, I gotta blow my nose. Sneezing, but still I'm pleasing all the slimmies. Pull out my Jimmy, time to get busy with a Jenny. If it's good and plenty, don't you know? There I go, there I go, there I go. But I don't go nowhere without my gym hat. What I'm rapping is if she's clapping, then I'm strapping, cause I'm smarter than that. And then girlie, maybe we can get along. Cutie after cutie, it's just the same old song.
Dan Aykroyd chimes in with his organ player. He lets them go.
Yeah.
And then he's, whoa, wait, then he asks Chevy Chase, will you marry my daughter? And Chevy says, I don't even know her, but he kind of says yes, I guess.
Yo. What it be?
Tie the knot, tie the knot.
So they have a ceremony.
Christopher Lawrence Farm.
Chevy Chase has a hard time saying yes.
Right, Nixon.
Pardon?
Paul.
What?
I can't.
Speak up!
I do.
And then when he says yes, he's yelling at Digital Underground, "Take me with you."
Wait, help me!
We're out here.
Wait, help me! These are dangerous people!
Come on, man. It'll be all right. It'll be all right. I was nervous in my wedding, too.
Well, that Dan Ack, that was his like last straw. He starts yelling at him.
Fie, you weak-livered puffball! Damn city-wugging yuppity well-wallet! Look how you hurt my granddaughter! Ah, you ain't family material anyway!
So he drops him into the bone crusher. And Chevy Chase gets right there where his like foot is right there by the bone crusher. And then he starts like, well, finally he just gives up. Well, in the course of fighting it, it breaks down. So he just slides through, he doesn't get hurt. So he's running, and again, it just shows you, it's just weird. It's like, they've got like millions of dryers and just all this, it just whatever.
But where would you get all this stuff? Do you go around to various
junkyards
and
scrap yards?
thrift stores around the U.S.?
Dan Aykroyd sees that he's on the run. So he says, let's go get Demi Moore and run him out. So they go to this thing. It's got blades on it. You lift it up, it drops, and it will basically just rip you apart. So he's like, you need to come out here or whatever. This is wonderful because he's on the PA like,
Listen, we got your pretty little girlfriend down here ready to go on to Greater Keene for a quartering. But because she's a bright-eyed, smart-looking type, I'm willing to make a trade.
you need to come out here or I'm going to cut. Well, then all of a sudden,
Where the hell's that dog food-eating grandson of mine anyway? Dennis! Here, you talk to him.
he's like, where the hell is, because John Candy's left, you know, where the hell is that grandson of mine? But anyway,
Ain't giving me much choice,
Chevy Chase finds like a barrel of gasoline because there's just barrels stacked up. So he lights the barrel and blows it. Distracts him, gets Demi Moore. They're chasing him now.
Jack Preps.
They're running and they say, hey, let's try to get the train.
Excuse me, coming through? Sorry. Excuse me.
And so they get on the train and they get out of there. Barely, but they get out of there.
I'm with you.
Reach out! Come on! That's it!
And the next scene, they're at an FBI headquarters with a kind of a rough drawing of the house, explaining everything that happened, everything they did, telling them what happened. And at the very end, they're like, yeah, and then we're here. And the FBI is like, well, I think we need you to go with us to identify them. So they go there with like 50 FBI cars or whatever. And they were like, how do we get them out? And they were like, well, maybe you guys go knock on the door and they'll lure them out. Okay.
You know, Miss Lights.
So they knock on the door.
Yes? Well, what's going on here? Who are you? Why are you bothering an old man?
You're through, Judge.
And they're like, oh, you're finished, Judge. He's like, oh, you better look behind you.
Behind you, there's a bee's nest.
Hi, Judge Alvin!
Evening, trooper!
And this is, again, where it just gets another bizarre turn. They turn around, and the whole FBI cops, all of them that came, are all standing there, and they all say, hi, Judge.
Something, isn't he?
Like, so it's now a conspiracy that they've got this guy tucked away in a world. And they basically tell him, like, oh, he's done a great job, and, you know, we don't want to disturb. We're going to have to work something out.
Because he takes care of...
Yes. Undesirables, like undesirables. Well, they were talking about, like I said, under the ground, it's like lava or something.
Yeah.
Well, all hell breaks loose.
Yeah.
Oh, he's standing there, run for your life. So Chevy Chase and Demi Moore get away. He finds his Beamer, even though half of it's gone.
Yeah.
They drive it out. They get They get out of there. Well, the next scene, I don't know where they're at. In like his penthouse or her apartment. I don't know. And he's taking a nap or whatever. He's having a nightmare. She kind of wakes him up. He's like, I'm going to turn on the TV. Well, they're talking about the fire at Valkenvania. And she's like, oh, this is, you know, blah, blah. Well, hey, there's a civilian.
Here now, so we're all planning to move in with my grandson-in-law.
Oh, no.
He lives in New York City.
Oh, come on, what? No, what?
See you soon, banker.
No, what? No, you won't.
And I read, too, that they had no idea how to finish the film, and that's the best thing they come up with, even though they hated how it ended. But that's how it ended. And there's your synopsis of this bizarre film. What are your final takes on it?
I think, you know, Aykroyd took everything he had in his head and he just slapped it on the screen.
Well, I did read that he got kind of that general idea because he got pulled over one night for speeding in some rural town, and they actually took him before a judge. So that's where he kind of got the idea. Him and his brother also obviously filled in all this stuff. I think his intentions were good. I can see areas of the film that the film would have been very interesting, but I just don't think he knew how to keep a film going, keep the continuity going. It just was a little out of his realm. From what I understand, he didn't even want to direct it to begin with, but they couldn't get anybody to direct it, so finally he just said, fine, I'll direct it.
You know, it's just like one of those Twilight Zone episodes, only in this case, they
You want to see something really scary?
Yeah, it's just like it wasn't cohesive, I guess. You know, it just, like you said, it didn't flow.
It's just...
I mean, you had those back then, but you had those that were effective. In The Burbs, Gremlins, you had horror comedies that were effective back then. This one...
It just missed the mark.
Yeah.
And I actually just watched this about a month ago because it popped up. And like I said, I had to fast forward through some parts. There are some things that I find funny, some things I find fascinating, but overall, I don't like the film anymore.
You know, all I can say about that is what he did there would fit, almost fit more into the 2000-2010 range. The idea, and I don't even like what the product is, but I'm saying what he did there, I think was almost too not advanced, but too early for its time. That's me.
It was definitely something, but there it is. See you later.